through my veins. On the pitch where the glory remains, the cockerel stands brave on the crest. North London pride, this ain't no jest. From lane to the new shining ground, echo chants where the legends are found. Heroes carved in the heart of time, we march on through grit and grime. Oh Tottenham, Tottenham till I die. Raise the banner, let it fly high. Through the rain, through the fire, this is my club, my only desire. Oh Tottenham, Tottenham till I die. Raise the banner, let it fly high. Through the rain, through the fire, this is my club, my only desire. Echoes of King and Greaves in the air. Every goal, the sound declares. Heartbeats pound like a drummer's song, marching forward, fierce and strong. We're the ones who rise in the clash. Numbers running in a white shirt dash. History burns in the roaring crowd. Every game we scream it loud. I'm Tottenham, Tottenham till I die. Raise the banner, let it fly high. Through the rain, through the fire, this is my club, my only desire. We're the ones who rise in the clash. Numbers running in a white shirt dash. History burns in the roaring crowd. Every game we scream it loud. I'm Tottenham, Tottenham till I die. Raise the banner, let it fly high. Through the rain, through the fire, this is my club, my only desire.
Yes, guys, and welcome to the ADVERTISE till we die home Tottenham past present and online.
Right, that should be better. Big up, guys. Welcome to THFC Till I Die, home Tottenham past, present, and the exciting future, of course, under Thomas Frank. And welcome to Irish Lads Talk Spurs. Yes, my Irish colleague, my second in command on this podcast, is running a wee bit late. He will join me as soon as he can. I think a few tech issues are the issues. But look, we've got a bit to get through today, haven't we? We've got a little bit to get through with the Irish team playing Portugal tonight. Joe Lewis getting a pardon from Donald Trump. What does that make? Will he now return to run Tottenham Hotspur, or will he still leave it to the kids? And just a little bit also, we're going to go slightly a bit away from football on the last segment of the podcast, and we're going to talk about the fight Saturday night, and also about the rumored Jake Paul and Anthony Joshua fight. I know it's a little bit out there. This is a football channel, and we should talk all Ireland and Tottenham. But I think because of the big Eubank Ben fight happening at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, so there is a Tottenham link. And also, I want to get your views on this ridiculous idea that Jake Paul's going to fight Anthony Joshua. And your thought on the Eubank Ben fight as well. I want to get Dave's view on it. I know me and Dave are both big boxing fans, so I'm going to love to get his views on it. I am joining the stream on Saturday. JYS Football is doing the boxing stream for the Eubank Ben fight, and I will be joining the girls over there. So do come and join me Saturday evening if you can. I want to say a big up to Jerome, who become a new member. Big up to you, Jerome. Thank you so much. It means a lot to me and the gang here as well. big up to when did the Daleks land in the street? I know, sorry. Does my voice sound better now? Does my mic, is it better now? So let me know in the chat if you can, guys. If you can, I really would appreciate it because I am on my pod. As I said, my co-host is running a wee bit late, tech issue, so he will join me as quickly as he can. But it's me, Corey. Oh, big up, yeah, good man, Corey. Big Corey, big up to you. Look, I don't know where we should start because it is an international week. We are in the middle of a last bit campaign to qualify for the World Cup. And look, Ireland not going to get there. I mean, we've got Hungary tonight at 5, and if Hungary beat Armenia, then it's all over. We're out the World Cup, and we won't be qualifying. And I feel quite sad about that because I come from a generation where we qualified for World Cups. Look, I was young enough to remember when we qualified for our first major tournament back in '88, when we qualified for Euro '88 in Germany. Backed that up by qualifying for Italian '90, and then again backed that up again qualifying for USA '94. And of course, the last World Cup we have qualified for was Japan and South Korea 2002. So, look, it's bittersweet for me that we won't be going to another World Cup. And it hurts. And it hurts, but big time because, look, I'm nearly 50. I've got probably another 30, 35, 40 years left of my life, touch wood. And I want to see my country qualify for another World Cup again, and give this generation or the next generation, the joy that we had growing up in '88, '90, and '94. And it meant a lot to me, especially being Irish, living in England. It was a bit of national pride, national. You stuck your chest out. You were proud to be Irish. Didn't care what you were called at school or what people called you on the streets or what the bully said at school, just because you were proud from Ireland and whatever was happening in the world in them days. You were proud to be an Irish soccer fan. And I've always been proud of my country. I've always been proud to be Irish. I've always been proud to be proud of the country I'm from. And, we're a small country, but we're a small country we're a small country, but we're a country of courage. We're a country of never backing down. We're a country of we're not afraid to stand up to bigger countries, and we're not afraid to stand up to bullies. And we've always had that within us, within our psyche. We've always had to fight for what is right, for our rights. And I go back to '88 when we had, the likes of Liam Brady and Chrissy Houghton and Packy Bonner and Paul McGrath. A lot of them went on to 1990, and then a lot of them went on to '94, and then you had the generation. Then the generation coming in for 2002 of Duff, Robbie Keane, Roy Keane, who was in the '94 bracket, went on then to spawn another generation of players. We did qualify for European Championships as well, 2012, 2016. So, we've qualified more for European Championships than we have for the World Cup. And the World Cup is the pinnacle of any player's ambition, any player's sort of dreams of making it into international football. Big up to you, Dave. Have you beaten your tech issues with the hammer, or what have you done with it?
No, I have this. I've got a cable and a dongle running into the back of it. I just had to sort it out. It's sorted now.
Now, what are you doing, really? What you were down waggling it, going up and down, and then or winding the meter.
I tried that. I tried turning the computer on and off. That didn't work. But bit of playing around, it's fixed.
Yeah. Big up to you. Look, I did say a few tech issues. Great to be here, Dave. I was just talking about Ireland, right? We've got a lot to get through today. We'll talk about Ireland because Ireland are playing tonight. We're going to talk a little bit about Joe Lewis getting pardoned by Donald Trump. All right, sorry, I've got a new mic thing. Does my mic sound okay, Dave?
Yeah, sounds all right to me.
Okay.
It could
Right.
be. It was a bit patchy when I first came on, but it's all right now.
Okay. Yeah, we talked about Joe Lewis getting pardoned today, man, and also I want to differ. I want to change a little bit at the end of this podcast, Dave, and go into the world of boxing. You and me are both big boxing fans, by the way. So and you a UFC fan as well. And I just want your thoughts on the Conor Benn Eubank fight the weekend, and also the fight that could be happening between Anthony Joshua and Jake Paul. And I just want your thoughts on that. So we're going to sort of deal with that at the end. But let's start with Ireland, Dave. Let's start with the beautiful Green Army. I want to say big up to Corey, who's in. Big up to you, Corey, who's in joining us today. Big up to you. And then we've got this from Loaded Numerals. Big up to you. That's all I'm going to say. I never went to school long enough to learn about Roman numerals, so do not ask me. Rocky 4 was my limit. I know what Rocky 4 is. After that, everything goes off the top of my head. Where was I going to go today? Yeah, here. Joe Lewis returned to Tottenham, ruled out despite getting a Donald Trump pardon today. Firstly, but Joe Lewis, surely he wouldn't come back, would he, Dave? Surely he should leave it to the kids now.
No, I don't think he will. I think he's past it now. I think it's clear that it's in the kids' hands. You know, it was put into a trust and stuff like that. And with him sort of being involved with the insider trade, and I don't think there's a route back for him to Tottenham. I think it's firmly in his kids' hands. Now, look, I mean, I've seen this done plenty of times in business, right, where the ownership changes hands to someone else in the family, but they still have their DNA and their sort of input all over it. So let's wait and see what happens.
Somebody was saying to me, I was on the show with Rain the other night. He was actually on the show I was doing one on would the January be a new dawn for Tottenham, or will it be the same old story with the Lewis family and that? And he was making a point at the end of that stream that with Tottenham could sell off the footballing side of Tottenham, and then it would just keep the business side of it, the property side.
It'll never work. United got into that, didn't
they?
Yeah.
I mean, as you rightly say, it doesn't work, Dave. But could it work?
No, it's never going to work. It's never going to work because you've got two people there for two different interests. And at the end of the day, it's not like if he buys the football inside, he can put all that money, at the end of the day, the club still has to run within the financial fair play rules and everything else. So that money then has to be divided between the two people in terms of what they want to do with the football club. It will never, ever, ever work.
So if you were going for a takeover, you want a full takeover, right? And we do know there was an announcement. Well, there was something put into the Spurs web on the other night about a joint sponsorship, naming rights, and shirt deal over 500 million. We know Tottenham have also been given the rights to host Euro 2028 games, 5 of them in total. Now, UEFA's rules, Dave's, are that a stadium cannot have naming rights to host Euro 2028 games. But Tottenham need a new shirt sponsor by the start of I think it's the 27-28 season, I think. If I'm right, if my memory serves me correctly. But they're looking to link it up with the naming rights with the shirt sponsor. So if you had an inkling, Dave, where do you think, I asked this the other night, where do you think it's going to come from? Do you think it'd be Middle East, or do you think it'd be NFL linked? Which the people on my show thought it'd be more NFL linked.
To be honest with you, Dermot, it could be anybody. Like shirt sponsor, AIA, they have nothing to do with football. They're sort of like a finance insurance sort of company.
Yeah.
So it's I wouldn't say necessarily be the NFL or that, it literally could be any company with the money, Yeah,
but you look at Man City, right? They're at Etihad. So they're at Etihad Stadium and the shirt sponsors at Etihad. So could it be a company that will come in and say, right, we're going to do a 10-year deal on the naming rights, but we also sponsor your shirts? But would that come from an American type company because we have got the links to America through the NFL? Or do you think it'd be more the Middle Eastern side where it may come from? Where's your sort of gut telling you?
I don't really know, Dermot, to be honest
Yeah.
with you. I mean, like, I think AIA sponsorship is up in the 2020 start of the 2027 season.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
You know, so obviously, you know, that'll be coming up. Will AIA want to renew? I'm not sure. They don't really have a history of renewing for too long.
No.
You know, they sort of move on. They've done that around different sports now. But look, to be honest with you, Dermot, it could be anybody in the world. I'm not going to sit here and speculate Middle East or America. It doesn't really
No.
matter as long as they're paying the money.
That's it. And it's 500 million, though. It's quite a lot of money, isn't it? And that towards transfers, say most of that goes toward transfers, helps Thomas Frank then improve the squad, then, doesn't it? Improve better players, getting better players in to play better brand football. And look, we Tottenham did end off the international break with a draw. Look, I thought that Man United game for me, Dave, I thought Tottenham didn't turn up. Tottenham played well for the first 10, 15 minutes. Man United then got a grip of the game. We gave away a stupid goal, by the way. Stupid defending. Nobody sort of doing their jobs. And then even on the 50th minute mark, we didn't have a shot on target. Then the substitutes came, and I think it was the subs that changed the game for me. Tottenham subs worked. Manchester United subs didn't work. We took a 2-1 lead deep into injury time, and then they equalised. You can blame Vicario all you want, or you can blame Bentancur. I think everyone has to take responsibility for that. What was your thoughts after that game, Dave? Because I was left very like the wind taken out of my sails. Like 1 minute we're celebrating, next minute we're down there going, for fuck's sake, really?
Yeah, look, I went from feeling like the great train robber, you know, to feeling absolutely deflated. You know, it felt like we snatched a draw or snatched a victory from defeat, and then all of a sudden, with a minute to go, you know, we end up conceding, end up drawing the game. But look, in general, to be honest with you, we were crap. We can sit here and praise Frank for his substitutions. He should have started with Burn and Doggy.
Yeah,
he should have started them. You know, so I'm not going to praise him for fixing his mistakes. At the end of the day, you know, that starting lineup cost us. You're going into a Man United game at home. Your home games are all about going at the opposition. Most teams see their home pitch as a fortress, and most teams go away from home playing a bit more pragmatic than what they usually would. It's the onus is on the home team to take the game to the opposition, especially with how our stadium is at the minute in terms of the emotional disconnect between the fans and the club. It's sort of like the Spurs fans are waiting for something to get behind. That's now 2 home games on the trot in the Premier League where he's shown far more respect to the opposition than what he's needed to. And that is starting to grind my gears a little bit, you know. And then in terms of, like, you know, starting with Charleston on the left-hand side and starting Spence. Now, I understand why he done it, because he thought Amarin was going to play Jallo at right wing back, and he thought he was going to play Mbuemo sort of in that on the right hand side in number 10. However, he threw a selection surprise and he didn't do that. He put Jallo in the number 10 and Mbuemo up front. So all of a sudden, Frank was left sitting there scratching his head, going, "Oh, big mistake here," you know. So that didn't work. Playing Jed Spence on the left hand side, knowing that he keeps cutting inside with his right foot, which is killing moves down that left hand side. He got his lineup wrong from the off. I'm not being funny, but as soon as that lineup was announced, there was enthusiasm before the game. As soon as the lineup was announced, most fans looked at it and scratched their head and said, "We're banging trouble here today with that lineup." And as soon as we seen that lineup, many fans knew it was going to be a defense first, a cautious approach. And this is where I don't think Thomas Frank is learning, to be honest with you. You know, the Chelsea game, they had all the excuses to blame the fans, the atmosphere after, you know, but where's learning from your mistakes and going at Man United? This isn't a great Man United team by any stretch of the imagination.
It's not.
They were there to be got at and to go at, and we failed in that regard. And a lot of it has to do with Thomas Frank's lineup. Now, of course, there's no definitive proof that Uda Bernardogi starting from the off would have changed the game. But the fact that they came off the bench, the fact that they played brilliant down that side against Copenhagen, and the fact that some of our best attacking performances this season has been when Udogi's played left back, because we can transition that ball much quicker down that left-hand side rather than having to cut it back across the pitch all the time. He should have known to start them guys from the very off, and I think I'm not surprised that we sort of found ourselves 1-0 down because it's the way he sets up. How many times does Xavi Simons get the ball and he's got no runners ahead of him? But that's because he's instructing the team to sit far too deep. He's respecting the opposition far too much, so that as soon as we get a ball and we're looking to play out or we're looking to get out, we have absolutely nobody there because he's instructing the wingers and the strikers to sit right back up on top of that midfield, which is sitting right back up on top of the defenders. And at the end of the day, he doesn't have a Kane and a Son to rely on the way Jose and Conte did to be able to play this formation. So I just think we were set up to fail from the very beginning, to be honest with you. And then, we came out after halftime. We had a little go. But should Spurs fans have to wait 45 minutes into a game for us to really sort of go and have a go at it? Then look, he made the substitutions. We got ourselves back into the game. He fixed these mistakes. Brilliant. But, I mean, that last goal, that should never happen. You are a minute away from a victory. All you got to do is shut up shop. Yeah, okay, Matista gave away a silly ball. Bentancur gave away a silly ball. And I don't understand why people are blaming Vicario for that goal, to be honest with you. I think there's many more people you can blame for that, a.k.a. Brennan Johnson, who originally started picking up the lit and then just let him run free to the back post, and Johnson didn't bother tracking him whatsoever, which is absolutely shocking. And how many times have I said that about that guy? Nowhere near good enough. But also, with all this coaching team, all the iPads, all the magnets that we keep seeing and that are being over-glorified, how has Brennan Johnson ended up on Matthijs de Ligt? One of your weakest players in the air ended up on their only strong player left on the pitch in the air. Absolutely shocking. Where's the coach? Where's Thomas Frank off the bench yelling at his fucking players to get one of our guys, like a Van de Ven, like a Romero, to follow Matthijs de Ligt? There was none. It was an absolute shit show.
And on the corner itself, it was Bentancur who was marking de Ligt at the time, and he jumped with his back to him and he got his header to him. Look, on Vicario, I think there is a little, I think where you're probably right, he shouldn't be blamed. I think there is some criticism for the way that he was standing behind the goal, for the way that he wasn't prepared for it.
And you can't blame Vicario, Dermot. It's a ball to the back post. It's
I was speaking to a goalkeeper the other night. I was speaking actually to a goalkeeper the other night. He was actually a goalkeeper. And I said to him about Vicario. And he said to me, the way Vicario, he said, you're right, probably not to fully blame him, but his positioning wasn't good. If you look at his positioning, by the time he realized that ball's going in the net, he's trying to get it out instead of being positioned ready and being there. You've got Bentancur at the back post, not marking de Ligt properly. You can blame it. It's individual areas. Everyone has to take responsibility. Everyone has to take a blame for that goal. You can blame Brennan Johnson. You can blame...
It's not Bentancur's fault. I don't know why you keep blaming Bentancur. I'm just looking at the goal here. Johnson is originally marking de Ligt, who's in the center of the goals.
Yeah.
Right? The ball is over-delivered. It ends up going towards the back post. Johnson doesn't follow de Ligt. He lets de Ligt free. That's not Bentancur's fault. That's Johnson's fault. He's the guy marking de Ligt, and he lets him roam free and lets him go and score the winner. I don't know why we're blaming Bentancur for the marking at the back post. Johnson is the one that let the guy go free.
Well,
bring up the goal. Have a look at it yourself.
I will. Yeah, I will look at it later. And I've looked at it 3 or 4 times. I just think all I'm picking out for Vicario was his positioning. That's what I'm saying. If you look at his positioning wasn't good. You can blame Johnson, rightly so, for not picking up his man. Fair enough. I blame Bentancur slightly because when he was jumping with him, he had his back to him instead of having the front to him. If you look at the goal, if you look at Vicario, the way he's standing, his positioning wasn't good. His positioning should have been a hell of a lot better. And that's I was talking to a goalkeeper who was a goalkeeper to a semi-high level. And he was telling me his position wasn't good. Now, we should to be fair, Dave, we should never have got to that corner in the first place. We should have defended better. But there's another point to this game. We had to wait 50 minutes before we got our first shot on target. So if you look at it that way, is Thomas Frank's tactics now going to start to gear the grinds of Tottenham fans at the stadium? And secondly, wasn't this a little bit like it was under Nuno? A little bit. I'm getting deja vu sometimes between Frank and Nuno.
Look, when it comes to Thomas Frank, I was one of the only YouTubers that sort of sat there and actually highlighted my reservations about bringing the guy in. I think because everybody hated the previous manager so much,
Yeah,
no one wanted to hear any sort of balance amongst Thomas Frank being hired. But
Yeah.
my biggest reservation was, I said, he'll come to Tottenham, he'll bring defensive structure. That'll be no problem. We've got brilliant defenders. We've got a good back line. Ange just wasn't getting the best out of them. I said he'll make us better at defending set pieces. And I said he'll make us more potent from attacking set pieces, which is all great. And we'll put more points on the board, which will help us finish higher than 17th. But his biggest obstacle is making a step up to Tottenham. He doesn't have a history of CVs, of trophies on his CV. He's never really managed a club of Tottenham's size. He's never had to handle a fixture schedule of Tottenham's magnitude in terms of the games every couple of days. And what I think you're seeing is a manager, A, learning on the job, but also B, making more mistakes, you know, in my opinion, as the season's going on. But the biggest thing was he was going to have to change his style of football. At Brentford, a lot of it was long ball, crash bang, wallop into the box, set pieces, stuff like that. All great attributes to have, don't get me wrong. But you can't just rely on set piece goals. You have to be able to score goals from open play. And I do think that is an area that Thomas Frank has neglected. He's openly said, you know, I worked on the defense and stuff like that, you know, and he's going into layer 3 or phase 3, whatever you want to say. He's about as much layers with his tactics as he does with his fucking hair. I'm sick of it. But you know, and I think it's coming back to bite him. He should have known walking in here. His biggest job was improving that front line. That's the area that he had to improve most. So he should have worked on that first. Yeah. At the end of the day, I always believed we had good enough defenders on that to be able to understand the structure the guy was going to put in place. But he needed to do more work on that forward line. And I'm not being funny, but this isn't a recent problem. We've been shit to watch going forward since the first game of preseason, and it hasn't got any better. We're now 18 games, including cup games, into the season, and it's getting worse and worse and worse as the games go on. It's not exciting to watch. It's not electrifying. And Frankie is struggling to adapt his style of play. At the end of the day, Carragher said it on Monday Night Football there. These managers, when they're making a step up from the small club to a big club, they have to adapt some way to go a long way to appeasing the fans, because at the end of the day, there's demands. You are expected to play a certain brand of football when you've got better players at your disposal. And in that regard, I don't think Thomas Frank has adapted. He's just copy and paste Brentford ball, and now we're looking very much like Brentford. Look, right now, I think it's too early to be Frank out. I think you do got to give the guy a bit more time, you know, to show what he can do and see if he can fix the problems and stuff like that. But, you know, I mean, before the international window, I think you and there was a couple of others, Dermot, were telling the likes of me, Jerome, and Eugene to calm down, because we were saying the way we're playing is not sustainable with the fixture list we've got coming up. We're going to end up dropping a lot of points. And we're here now, and now everyone's giving out about the football. But before the international break, everyone was ridiculing us, saying, stop being so negative, this, that, and the other.
I stand by what I said. I'm never back down to what I said. You know me well enough now. I will stand by on what I said, and I still stand by it. Look, I wanted Thomas Frank to come in before Ange did. And look, I'm forever grateful for Ange for winning us a trophy. Look, if you look at I said it in the last podcast, Dave, and I said it in your show, everyone owes Ange Postecoglou an apology because of the injuries. The injuries were nothing to do with him. You know I said that.
Yeah.
And I'll stand by that. I think you can complain about the 22 league defeats. That's fair. You can complain what you want. He won us a trophy. And he's the only third manager in our history to win us a European trophy. Thomas Frank, when he came in, and I did come on your show, Dave, and I said he's going to be adaptable, we're going to look better, and we're going to be more for force. Has he made us look better at the back? Yes. Are we a bit boring going forward? Yes. So true, we are. And I admit it, but I'm not. I'm trying to be. I try to be as positive as I can. I always try to look for the positives out of a negative, because you can look at Tottenham and be as negative as you want, and rightly so. And
But that wasn't being negative. That was just
Yeah,
calling on what we're seeing and
Yeah,
looking at the fixture schedule
yeah,
ahead.
I get it,
Being
but you've got
realistic, not negative.
yeah, but you've also, if you wanted to be negative about it, you could be, because you got the evidence there to be negative, if you know what I mean. I'm
But
not
it's not
saying you
negative.
were
It was
there.
reality. It's reality. We're
Yeah.
living it. So it's
I,
not
and
negative.
I tried to look at the positives out of it, and I tried to look with the third highest goal scorers in the league or the fourth highest goal scorers in the league. I don't know how we've done that, but we were. You look at the Premier League; it's as tight as it can be. I think I've got the Premier League table up. I'm going to get it up now. If the Premier League website will work, which I think is a heap of shite since they've done it. Look, we're sitting at the moment in fifth place on 19 points. 19
Yeah.
Sunderland, 20 Chelsea, 22 Man City. You go all the way down to probably 10th place on Palace on 17, probably Brighton and Brentford on 16. It's very tight. I've never known a league, Dave. I don't know if you have, in all my years of watching Premier League football, have you ever known from second to 10th to be a couple of points within each other? And
all the way down to 12th, Dermo. I think you look at everything down to 13th. You know, they're on 15, we're on 18. So it's a 3-point gap. Look,
it's a 3-point
I think
gap.
the Premier League is always sort of close enough. That middle, that chasing pack is always close enough for the first 10 or so games. And then you start seeing teams sort of separate themselves. But you're already starting to see that come off the back of the international break.
Yeah.
Going into the last international break, we were sitting, what, second or third in the league?
Yeah,
you know,
we were.
Since we've come back, we've scored 1 goal from open play and we've won 1 game in terms of the Premier League, you know, and that's because we've had harder fixtures. Then you look at what we've got coming back up off this international break: North London Derby, Newcastle away, PSG slapped in the middle of it. You know, people, like, we could sit here and say we scored the second most goals from open play. Okay, but Arsenal, City, and all them teams have already played each other at the very beginning of the season. We played Burnley, we played Leeds. Let's get real here. But since we've come back from international break, we've scored 1 goal from open play.
Yeah,
1.
It hasn't been great. I agree. It hasn't been great. And I'm not looking forward to the North London Derby, Dave. You know me. I love the North London Derby. I'm passionate about it. You know, it's, you know, I get a little bit tribal about it because it's Arsenal and they're South London.
Oh, yeah, of course.
We're going to beat them, you know, and we will. And you and me both be like that, Dave, coming up to game day. We're going to both be up like that. You and me would be tribal. I've got a podcast with a couple of Arsenal fans. I'm going to go, you should be back in South London near your stadium, near the open sewer. That's the only reason you went into North London. Go back to South London. All this banter. And we love it. We love it. It's our derby. We love it. We know bigger derbies, of course, up in Scotland, Dave, Celtic and Rangers. Totally different kettle of fish up there completely. But we love it, right? But I'm fearful for Thomas Frank because Tequila said it to me about 3 weeks ago. He said, Dermo, we're doing a show, watch on. He came on Match Reactions, and he actually said it. Says, Dermo, and that's why I made the point of Nuno. How long? I don't think the home fans are going to give Thomas Frank long because they've already booed him for taking Xavi off at the week for the Manchester United game. When fans start booing their own manager for making a decision, also, if you look at the way we played against Chelsea, that did my gears, that got my head in. Vicario and Spence passing it to each other instead of getting the ball in there, Dave. And by the time we did get it in there, Chelsea had come out, Tottenham had to come out, and the keeper caught it. I don't think the fans are going to give Thomas Frank very long. So the question that I asked the guys the other night and Tequila, was Thomas Frank a Levy signing, and will the Lewis family stick by that? Because if they want to get rid of everything that's to do with Levy, surely the manager will go if results don't start picking up.
Look, when it comes to the home games, if Thomas Frank keeps approaching the home games the way he is, Spurs fans will get off board very, very quickly with that. When they're going to the home games, they're being charged some of the most, highest prices across world football. And at the end of the day, if the board are going to charge the fans that, then the fans are going to have demands. Them demands are then placed on the manager and the player. And if they're failing to meet their demands, them demands, as you can already see and hear. Spurs fans are going to make their voices heard. Jamie Carragher pulled an extract of Papa Matasar from the Chelsea game when the ball was going backwards. The fans were booing because they were sick of the team going backwards with the football and stuff like that.
Yeah.
They want to see a more on the front foot approach. At the end of the day, I speak for most Spurs fans here, but they've had entertaining football that has been successful. So they're never going to want to deviate away from that.
No.
So, you know, with Thomas Frank, it's up to him to bring a more palatable style of football if he wants to buy in. At the end of the day, look, people can sit here and argue over Thomas Frank all they want. It's what he does and what he produces is what's going to buy in. That's it at the end of the day. And you know, when he's coming out before the Chelsea game saying we need a raucous atmosphere, and then it's up to the team's performance then to sort of, you know, lead the crowd then through the game. That doesn't happen. The crowd make a raucous atmosphere. It dies after a few minutes because the team and the way they've approached the game and stuff like that. Then after the game, Thomas Frank then comes out and blames the fans for the atmosphere. And it's like, hang on, did you forget what you said in the pre-match press conference about the team's performance then dragging and helping drag the fans through the games? Have you completely neglected that? Then you've got the players coming out and blaming the fans again for the shit atmosphere. But yet anytime a fan goes after a player for their shit performance, you're not allowed to do that. You're not allowed to say anything. And I'm absolutely fed up with that culture.
It is ridiculous.
You know, and I just think, you know, with Thomas Frank going down and starting blaming the fans, it's something Postecoglou started to do. And look how much the fan base hated that guy. You know, it wasn't because it wasn't just because we were losing games and stuff like that. At the end of the day, he won a Europa League, but people still hate him because he constantly told the fans they were wrong. He constantly had to go at the fans all the time. And Thomas Frank is starting to do that. The players are starting to do that. So you're going to lose the fans. Now, when it comes to how much time is he going to be given, that really all depends on the Lewis family and what they want to do. Do they look at it as a situation and go, no, Frank is a good manager. It's our squad that's not helping him. Or do they look at it and go, do you know what? Yeah, we've got problems with our squad, but he is not getting the best out of them the way we thought he would when we hired him. And again, of course, it comes down to whether that was Levy's hire or whether it was the Lewis's family's hire. But at the end of the day, results is what's going to dictate how long he gets in the job. We can sit here and speculate all we want. Results is going to be the deciding factor.
It will be. I want to say big up Spurs forever 92. We need a winger and a striker. Xavi was signed. I agree with that. I mean, I looked at the Man United game on the Saturday, Dave. I don't know if you did. I'm sure you did, you and Jack. And there was one point in the middle that you had Xavi in the middle, and he just literally just went like that. He just threw his arms down by his side. I always remember back in I'm going to say during the war, because Dave thinks I live in World War One during the war, or during the old days. I remember Glenn Hoddle saying in an interview that before Ozzy and Ricky came to the club, nobody was on his level. Once Ozzy and Ricky came, he turned around to his dad and said, I have somebody who understands football. Because he can make a pass. And he knew that ball would go to him, but Ozzy knew that Glenn Hoddle would make a run, if you know what I mean. He knew he would run into that space. It's the same with Xavi. He's got players around him that are not on his wavelength. He's on a different level. You've got players like Odegaard and Brendan Johnson and that are on this level. Xavi's up here. A James Maddison is probably up here. A Kulu is probably up here. And there is rumours Dave Kulu could be back for the North London derby. Hopefully he is. He's out in Dubai, I think, at the moment.
It's interesting, though, to hear the fan base suddenly rate Kulusevski because, like, for the last year or two, I felt like I was on my own. Now, all of a sudden, he's out injured and we have attacking problems. Now, all of a sudden, fans think he's great. But for a couple of years there before that, fans wanted to sell him.
I never wanted to sell Kulu because I like Kulu. I think he's been a really good footballer. I mean, we were at the Palace game where he got injured, Dave. And the game after that went flat after that because he was only our great spark. But if you could pick one striker, Dave, just pick a striker. Who do you think you should go after in the summer? Who in the January window? There is talks of Ivan Toney. There's talks of Vadovic, 20 million, 6 months of his contract. Who do you go for? If you could pick one, which one would you pick?
Look, I think if you want to help Thomas Frank out massively, I think, Ivan Toney wouldn't be a bad choice for him because he knows Ivan Toney's game. He probably, like you would argue, he knows how to play to his strengths. He knows exactly what he's going to get and stuff like that. However, I would say You look at Conor McGregor, and when you get that sort of money, you end up on easy street, and it's a very hard street to end up climbing back off of and getting back into, where you were before you started making all that money. So I'm a bit hesitant, and also I'd question the fitness levels. If we bring him in January, are we going to have to wait 2 or 3 months for this guy to get up to speed and stuff like that? I worry about that. For me, I look at someone like Dusan Vlahovic. I really like what he's about. He's big, he's strong, he's powerful, can run in behind, can score with his feet, score with his head. Now, I know it hasn't worked out for him at Juventus, but I've been around long enough to know sometimes a player in a club, for whatever reason, it just doesn't work out. But I've seen players leave that club, go on and blossom elsewhere. For whatever reason, it's just that seems to be that environment that doesn't seem to be getting the best out of the player. So for me, personally, I've wanted Vlahovic for quite some time. I wouldn't mind going after him, but either or, to be honest with you. I mean, to what Spurs Forever says here, look, we do need a winger. We do need a striker. That's certain 100%. But, Frank still has to be getting more out of what he's been given. At the end of the day, when it comes to Xavi, look, I was one of them. I sort of did question, is this guy going to come in and hit the ground running? I didn't think he would. I always thought it was going to take a bit of time. But, I mean, how can you how do you expect the guy to shine when he's getting the ball and there's no runners off him? Xavi Simons' game is all about putting the ball between the lines, putting people in behind, creating goals. How do you expect him to do that when everyone else is sitting just as deep as him? When he gets the ball, there's no runners. And then to double down on it, Thomas Frank then takes him off, which I just don't understand. Honestly, I think Thomas Frank has mishandled Xavi Simons to a certain degree, Dermo. Playing him through the middle, off the left, dropping him in and out of the team and stuff like that. I don't think he's helped the kid.
No, I don't. And I think, the best I've seen the Xavi Simons has been on the left, Dave. You saw that with Villa. You saw the few games. The best I've seen of him. He hasn't. Look, he may be a number 10, but I think he's better on the left. I think you get more out.
Copenhagen, though, on the number 10, though, Dermo. What I liked about him against Copenhagen is he linked up with all 3 players. He linked up with Johnson. He linked up with Mouani and Udebur. That's what you want your number 10 to do, to link up with all them 3 front players. But then Thomas Frank goes into the United game, and he drops Udebur. I can understand having to take Kudus out the team for Brennan Johnson, but the reality is just go with the same front line against Copenhagen, and he didn't. I don't understand it.
And to be fair, look, we put it into perspective. Copenhagen is slightly lesser opposition than United. I get it, it's Champions League, and I get that will be the thing. But he did play well last night, but it was only Copenhagen. But I
get that though, Darmo. But
it gives him confidence, doesn't it, Dave? It gives him confidence.
That's the thing. You've got a forward line that's low in confidence. They built up a lot of confidence from that Copenhagen game. Go out there and put that same forward line out there against Man United and look to build off that confidence. Because at the end of the day,
I agree.
We can sit here and say he has to rotate, but at the same time, he also needs a productive front line to be able to go and win games of football. And by taking Wilson Odobert out of the team and stuff like that, I just think anytime these players seem to build up a bit of confidence, it's like Frank seems to kill it. Like Sarr built up massive confidence at the start of the season, took him out in the lineup for no reason. Odebert's been building up confidence, took him out of the lineup. I don't understand some of the calls the guy is making. You put that same front line from the Copenhagen game out against Man United because it's been the only front line that has produced all season long. We can say it was only Copenhagen, but we played Doncaster. We made that look difficult on the night. The reality is they were confident, and when you've got a lot of the forward line that is not in confidence, you play the players that have built up a little bit of confidence to hopefully develop that and build that more. And he failed.
Yeah, he did. No, I agree. But I would say big up to Spurs Forever. Thank you so much for the super chat. Brought up a brilliant talking point there between myself and Dave and the chat. I just want to welcome a few more people in, and then we will crack on. I want to say big up to Rhino, big up Dave Owen, and Dermo. Dave, like I said yesterday, the problem
Just quickly, Rain. He says Sarr came out of the lineup because his mate back home was murdered. Dave knows that. Is that speculation that you've made up and put 2 and 2 together? Or is that actually been confirmed? Because it hasn't been confirmed. It's speculation that people are looking at to sort of defend Thomas Frank to a certain degree. I get that. I did read it. But you look at Sarr when he came off the bench and he scored that goal there against Everton. looked like a player to me that was more pissed off with the manager for taking him out of the lineup.
Yeah, I did read somewhere that he did lose his friend. I think that was his celebration of what game was it now where he scored. And it was Everton away and they gave a muted celebration. I don't know if that's the reason why. Only Thomas Frank know. It did happen. I know because I read it because it was in the sports report or Sar come out with it on social media about his friend back home and where he's from. But for that, maybe it's affected him. I don't know if that's the reason why Thomas Frank has been dropped him a little bit or whatever. We don't know. We don't live within the world of Tottenham. We can only speculate. That's all we can do. That's all we can do as football pundits and something that big up to Rhino, big up to Brenny as well. Big up Brenny, brother. I hope you're doing well. Afternoon, gents. I would definitely be on the North London show. Can't wait for that, Brenny. Big up to Leo Starman as well. Big up Dermo and Dave. We got a nice compliment actually debuting me from Joe Blogs. Good evening, Derm and Dave. As per usual, you do a good analysis of Spurs. Well, thank you so much indeed. You're very kind. I'm only a short, fat Egypt from Wexford. Dave is the Brad Pitt of Kildare. So there you go. So yeah, Dave gets all the girls when he goes. He's the film star. I'm not. Sorry, Emily. I am joking, by the way. Dave, I just want to say very quickly, guys, if you're our members, we have a brilliant giveaway for you guys. I just moved my mic there. We have a couple of Tottenham shirts to give away. We've got the away, I'll do it that way. We've got the Tottenham away kit, black one as well. And we do have the third kit as well, the yellow one. Hence, I'm giving them away. I bought them off a website, Dave, which I thought I was buying off the same website where I get my Tottenham stuff from. And ended up, these are proper legit ones where the ones I buy are not legit. So these don't fit me. I mean, putting this on me, I look like a whale trying to give birth to something. So that's why. So we've got the yellow one and the black one. If you're a member, we do a giveaway at the end of the month. And whoever comes out of that giveaway will win both shirts. So you can only enter if you're a member. So do that if you can. Right. Dave, I want to talk a little bit, if we can. I want to go a little bit off topic for the last bit of this podcast about boxing. You and me are big fight fans. You're a big UFC fan. I'm sort of now getting into it, but I am always preferred the boxing. And we've got the big fight the weekend. Oh, no, sorry. Before we get on to boxing, we'll talk a little bit about Ireland. Sorry, that's my bad. We are playing tonight. Ireland are playing Portugal. Me and Dave are going to be bored out of our skulls for about an hour and a half, probably crying into our whatever we're crying into. Just give you a bit of update up to it, guys. The Advertises are sitting pretty. Portugal top Group F and need just 2 points from the final two games to qualify. For Ireland, Ryan Mannon and Jason Momombe are both serving 1 game suspensions, but will hope to return for the squad in time to face Hungary. Evan Ferguson has been struck down by an ankle injury and is not part of the squad alongside Schmidt and Skies and O'Dowd as well. So they're out. Tonight's game, of course, is from the greatest country in the world, the greatest capital in the world, Dublin City. And it's there at kickoff at 7:45 at the Aviva Stadium. We've got a Swedish referee and the VAR, some fella called Paul van Brookley from Holland. Weird name. Ireland and Portugal's head-to-head. We've done very well against Portugal in the last 5 games. We've been brilliant. Yeah, 4 defeats and 1 draw. Says about all, really. This is Ireland's last group games. Of course, we beat Armenia 1-0. Me and Dave were on the source for days after that game. It was such a great game in our history. You can tell I'm being really sarcastic about Ireland. We did lose to Portugal, put heroic. I mean, does that get your gears, Dave, when you hear Ireland putting her heroic performance, but we lose the game? Does that really piss you off? It pisses me off, like. We shouldn't be celebrating failure. I mean, and then we lost to Armenia. I mean, I don't know how worse this manager can get, actually, and we drew hungry. Dave, do you think he might be out of a job? Or you're hoping he'll be out of a job?
Yeah, look, I think he has to go, Dermot, to be honest with you. I think he's balls this campaign up massively. Look, don't get me wrong. I mean, the FAI's problems have been well documented. I mean, the quality of the players that he has to pick from is well documented, but you would make the argument, is he getting the most out of the team? I don't think so.
No.
You know, look, the defense seems to have got worse underneath him, which was once something we used to pride ourselves on. We concede a lot of shots from the edge of the box, which is, you know, again, his instructions failure to go and close down players. He keeps picking and playing Matt Doherty, even though the guy makes a mistake that costs us a goal nearly every single game.
Why?
He does have good forward players I don't know, Dharma. I don't know. He does have good forward players to pick from, but you know they get fuck all service. It's been an absolute shambles. And to be honest with you, look, this guy found his way into football because he found his way onto the Iceland team. You know, even though he's a dentist, somehow found his way onto the Iceland team, got the Jamaica job off the back of it. Done okay there. But I mean, look, Ireland fans aren't having this guy. He doesn't seem too interested, you know, in terms of the job either. You know, he's not like he's out there watching games or scouting potential players to come in and stuff like that. He's just here for a payday. It's coming to an end, you know, as soon as this campaign is over, I would argue.
Yeah. And look, if Ireland were doing well and we were qualifying, you know, we knew we could qualify tonight, you and me both were doing watch-alongs to it, Dave. I know we would. Or we'd be joining up, wouldn't we? We'd be covering it because it's something that we're about to go. But another tournament we're not going to. Yeah, I will be doing
It's been far too long since we've been
at
a major tournament.
I was saying that at the start, Dave. I come from a generation where we qualified for World Cups.
Yeah.
88 European Championships, 1994. You remember 2002. Like, for me personally, I was around when we first, I mean, as a young teenager walking around England with my Irish top on, proud as, you know, chest pumped out. I'm Irish and I don't give a fuck what you lot think. And being at school and getting picked on by bullies. Oh, you are. Yeah, but we've qualified for a World Cup, mate. You know, you can't even beat us. It took them 33 years for England to beat Ireland. And we had to have a really shit manager with a shit group of players. And they got lucky that time. We had enough time. But we will return because we're the mighty Republic of Ireland. So, yeah, and you had 2002, Dave. We've had a few European Championships since then, 2012 and 2016.
Well, 2012, did we even participate?
I don't think we did, Dave, to be fair.
Got hammered by Spain, hammered by Croatia, and I think it was a disaster, that one. 2016, we fared better. We got out of the groups.
Yeah, we did. But to be fair, can I say, and I've always said it, and I don't mean this to be disrespectful to any other fans in the world, but I'm biased. We have the damn best away supporters in the world, Dave. Don't we? We can go to any tournament and there's no problems, there's no arrests, there's no nothing. You see the videos of them, what was it, a baby, they were trying to get a baby to sleep and there's about 20 or 30 Irish fans
changing
singing
flat tires and everything.
Yeah. I mean, I remember going back to 1990, right? They were coming off a boat. I've said the story before. They were coming off a boat in Sicily and they had cages there, the Irish, the English, and the Dutch fans, right? Now, you got to remember, Dave, it's a really hot day. So any fan's going to be pissed off being put in the cage. No, not the Irish. What did they go and do? They all gang together and start going, meh, meh. Right. You got the Italian police looking at them, right, going, are these fans complete? You got the English and Irish fans, English and Dutch fans, right? Let's get out of here. You got the Irish fans acting like sheep. And you got think of it. Are they for fucking real? Philip Brady told me they did it in Russia. And the Russian police couldn't make their head no tail of it. And you going back to 2012, Dave, I think we were losing to Spain 4-0. And all you can hear, I found the recording the other night, all you can hear for the last 10 minutes of that game was the Fields of Athenry being sung. That's our fans. And we do have the best fans in the world. And I'm not trying to put down any other fans, but we do, though, don't we, Dave? To be fair.
No, we do. We do. Look, wherever we travel, you never hear of stories of Irish fans ever being a problem. No. In fact, you know, usually they're the most, you know, praised fans, you know, when they're leaving these competitions and stuff like that. And look, my old lad has great memories. He was there when Ireland beat England in Germany. You know, he's been to a few tournaments himself. What he used to do is he used to go interrailing around Europe for a couple of weeks. and like, you know, dip in and out for the games, and then back across Europe for a while, back in for Ireland's next game and stuff like that. And he'll tell you, you know, the crowd used to be absolutely electric. Like, he speaks about that England Ireland game in Germany and all. He was saying the German police just absolutely love the Irish, you know, and stuff like that. And you know, we've always had great fans, even when trying to be taunted and provoked into trouble and all. Never reacted. Great fan group.
Never. I'm not trying to put down the fan group, by the way. I know we do have a lot of English fans watching us and a lot of American and fans from around the world. I'm not trying to put you lads down. I'm just biased because
they'll say it themselves. Everyone loves the Irish fans.
Yeah.
We just go for it. A lot of the Irish fans just go for the drink and the crack.
Yeah. And do you know what? There's one thing I want to do with you, Dave. You, me, and the few of them have to go on an Irish away day. We're going to have to do that, Dave. That's on my bucket list. We're going to have to, once we get a good manager.
You'd want a nice away day, though, where it's one on a Saturday where you can fly in that morning and fly home that night.
Yeah. Where would you like, Dave? Who would you pick? Italy?
Do you know what? Gibraltar always looks like a nice sort of away day. I think the stadium's only like 20 minutes or 10 minutes away from the airport as well. You know, you sort of fly in there, good weather. You're in the open sun for a couple of hours, enjoy the game. Usually we win, and then you get out of there back to the airport, which is only 10 minutes down the road. I'd love to do that one. Portugal looks like a decent away day as well, to be fair. I'd love to do one out in Scandinavia. I'd just love to go and see Scandinavia in general, to be honest with you. The likes of Sweden, Norway, Finland, you know, the likes of Iceland.
The Northern Lights. Norway I want to go to, actually, see the Northern Lights, actually. I really would.
I want to go to Lapland.
I tell you a funny story. Mrs. Tron took the two boys there when they were small to Lapland. Right. And she told me she had a great time over there.
I'm probably a bit old for Santa's D now. I'd probably break it, but I'd still love to go.
No, you'd be looking for Mrs. Santa. That's what you'd be looking for.
Mrs. Claus.
Yeah, Mrs. Claus. But the young lad couldn't. The eldest lad went on it. It was a snow sledge, and the young lad couldn't go on it. And apparently, there's a picture. Dover's got Mrs. Tron's got a picture of him somewhere of him not looking too pleased fishing. Apparently somewhere. Look, let's enough about where we want to go. Enough about Ireland, because if we're going to lose tonight anyway, so we might as well just brace ourselves for that.
Do you know what's sad though, Dermo? I'd still go into the game with that 10% hope. You know, we can win it and win our last game and give ourselves a chance. But
I'm sitting here. Yeah, I'm sitting here, Dave, thinking, right, tonight we can do it. Me and Dove were looking to go to the game. She said to me, she never says to me about going to match. She said, I'll go and watch Ireland versus Portugal with you. And we tried to get tickets and they're sold out, like. And I'm thinking, Jesus.
Dermo,
can you imagine?
I remember we played. I remember, was it Gibraltar at home? I brought the missus with me. Yeah. And, you know, because I was going to Ireland games with you and Ollie, grand, no problems whatsoever. Bring the missus with me. We get off at, is it Jervis Street?
Yeah.
You know, got off there, went into the shopping centre, grabbed something quick to eat, come back out. There's no trains or anything out to the Aviva because there's a massive fire in the car park. It's halted the whole travel across Dublin. So I end up fucking walking miles and miles and miles, end up flagging down a taxi way outside the city centre, finally get to the fucking stadium. And I mean, I think it was only 1-0 going in at halftime. We were absolutely useless. Not much better in the second half. And then trying to get home then as well was an absolute nightmare. It was a good day out, don't get me wrong, with the missus and stuff. But, you know, I think it turned her off going to any international games in the future for a while, because even she was sitting there and going, Dave, I don't know how you do this. It's fucking boring. I was like, I know.
Well,
I thought by bringing you to this one, we'd see 4 or 5 goals and we'd be able to sit there and celebrate. And, you know, it didn't really happen that way.
Look, I'm toying with buying the season ticket for next season. Look, I went through.
On sale now.
Yeah, I know. I bought a season ticket. A lot went on. I wasn't well, and I had a family bereavement, so I couldn't get to any of the games. So I was really sort of thought, what a waste of it. But I'm going to buy one. So Dave,
I wonder if they're still at the same price we got ours for.
I think they are. I think they're a bit cheaper actually.
Because to be fair, our seats, although they were high up, they weren't bad.
Yeah. I can't remember the first time I went to Aviva with you with Stephen Kenny, and I don't know who booked the tickets, but that fucking walk up to them seats, I nearly died. It was like walking Mount Everest.
Yeah, we were up there. Me, you, Philip Brady, Ollie. I think yourself were there for Ukraine. Then I think we were up there for a game against Norway. Where was that the guy for 90 minutes?
Was that the game I gave out to to Matt Doherty for wearing gloves.
Yeah, Matt Doherty was wearing gloves, and we booed Odegaard every time he came
Yeah.
to take a corner and stuff like that. Yeah,
I,
I
I
was
give
fucking
out
freezing that night.
Was that the night the fella fell over the advertisers board, tried to run onto the pitch? Do you remember? He fell over the big fella. He tried to run onto the.
Were we there for Holland or was it France
Yeah.
when fans were just running on the pitch during the game
Yeah.
for pictures with
Yeah.
Van Dijk and players like that? Madness.
Where
we had our seats is lovely though, because you got that low stand, so you can see right over the city. Then it's a nice view actually.
I just remember that game for Norway. I was giving out to Matt Doherty, and he actually looked at me at one point. He looked at me, I said, "Take them fucking gloves off." Yeah, fucking it. Right. We are different away. Look, we're going to do something special. It is a big night for boxing, of course, the weekend, and a couple of news broke last night. But let's start with this, Dave. We are going to avert the boxing, a sport we both love. Chris Eubank Jr. against Conor Benn. Look, I'm old enough to remember when the dads fought back in the 90s, long before you were a twinkle in your dad's eye, Dave. I remember the rivalry between him, Ben, Steve Collins, Michael Watson, all them great fights. Them Ben Eubank fights were fucking bad, really nasty. Did not like each other. Get on well now, the dads now. Then the sons do it. Now, I was watching Simon Jordan the other morning, Dave, and I think I was watching a clip before you came on, and he was calling this fight that the sons are fighting off the fathers' names. That if it was any other two fighters, they wouldn't get this much of a payday. Now, and people are only paying for mediocre performances. But do you agree with that, Dave? Or do you think, no, the sons are fighting on their own merits? Or do you feel they are coming off their dad's name? Because I think having fathers like Chris Eubank Sr. and Nigel Benn, both world champions, I think they are coming off their dad's name a little bit more than their own.
Well, look, there's always an element of it that, their dad's name has helped them, right?
Yeah.
It's sort of given it automatically, it sort of brought attention and attraction to them because of who their fathers are. That also then brings money, stuff like that. That also then brings opponents wanting to use your name to try and make a name for themselves. So, it brings bigger and better fights and stuff. So no doubt it's definitely helped their career throughout. But that fight at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium was an absolute epic between the two of them.
Yeah.
And the two of them, at the end of the day, that's what boxing is about. Seeing two guys in the ring go for the win. And that's what you've seen that night. So, of course, the father's name and that. Yeah, I'll watch it. I'll watch it for sure. Of course, the father's name has helped them. But they put on an epic show. You got to give it to them. And to be fair, when Eubank stepped out of the limousine and no one thought he was going to turn up beside, that was absolutely epic, lad. Brought that bit of extra drama to it and stuff. And if you actually go and watch Matchroom have a documentary series out on Netflix, Dermo, you should watch it. It basically covers Eddie Hearn and his father and basically the way they own the darts, the snooker, and the boxing and stuff. And there's an episode in that actually gives you an insight into that fight. But actually, at that fight, Eddie Hearn and that were trying to seal a deal with the Saudis and everything else. But, you get great insight behind, what I think it was Ben went through to be able to get that fight back on. And it really good documentary series, Darren. You should watch it. It's brilliant.
I will do it. Look, I'm looking forward to it. I didn't watch the first one, I think, because I didn't think it'd be any good.
That was epic.
I did watch it since, by the way, and I do agree with you. It is epic. Look, with weight classes and everything, that's a whole different scenario. And maybe me and Dave might start off a boxing podcast. You never know. Might do that. It might be something I got running around in my head.
I like watching it. I'm not that invested in it though.
I remember my dad getting me up at 3 a.m. to watch the big heavyweight fights when I was a kid. My father would sit me down and give me. When it comes to boxing and football, as a kid, I went into the history of boxing, right back to Dempsey, right back to Jack Johnson, right back to Jack Sullivan, the first bare knuckle heavyweight. You got Jack Johnson, the first black heavyweight. You got Tooney, Dempsey, Floyd, Patterson. You got Patterson. You got Muhammad Ali. You got all these great fights going up, and especially in the 70s and then the 80s, you got Sugar Ray Leonard and Tommy Hearns and Marvin Hagler and all that great middleweight scene. And then you got in the 90s, for me as a teenager, Steve Collins, a great Irish champion, by the way. Nigel Benn, Chris Eubank, Michael Watson. And this is not the first fight to be held at
Lennox
the
Lewis,
Tottenham Hotspur.
Tyson.
Lennox Lewis as well. And you got like Evander Holyfield and then the return of Tyson. But this is not the first fight at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. There was fights before, and I only found this out the other day. I did my research. The second, the Eubank Watson fight was at White Hart Lane and the old White Hart Lane. Frank Bruno broke Joe Bogner at White Hart Lane back in the day. And I tell you another thing as well. I remember as a kid, Barry McGuigan, watching him fight Bruce. I mean,
killed
Dave,
a man in the ring, didn't he? So he's
I think
famous for. He killed someone.
yeah,
didn't he?
he did. Yeah. Well, so did Nigel Benn as well. Oh, we injured him, didn't he? I forget the fella's name. But great boxing brings out such emotions, doesn't it, Dave? Out of us. So
Two books, Normo, my old lad gave me when I was young, and he wanted me to get into sports and all. One was he got me this book, and it was the whole history of Tottenham Hotspur and stuff like that. He said, if you want to be a Spurs fan, know your history. And then he also gave me a boxing book, and it was just a boxing book of all the world champions and, how they became there and what they'd done in boxing and stuff like that. My old lad used to love boxing as well. Loves it. I was like you, used to stay up, watch the fights with him and stuff like that. It used to be brilliant.
I did boxing as a kid, by the way. I used to go to a boxing club. Great. Put handy with the bully.
I used to like the boxing, lad. Because I used to play soccer with the town, with the county, and with the school. Then I used to play basketball with the school. Used to do GAA with the town and the school and that. I was super fit.
Yeah.
And my old lad, my friends were going down boxing. And I said, you know what, I want to go. My mother was very hesitant. My mother didn't like me doing them sort of sports. Whereas, I went into the old lad and said, look, just life for me, And he's like, yeah, go on, I'll sort it out. So I went down boxing and all. I absolutely loved it. And I tell you what, I thought I was fit with all the sports I was doing going into it. There's nothing better than boxing training to get you fit. It's some of the hardest training you can do.
It is. It really is. Look, for me, I love boxing. I really do. The great Joe Kozagi as well. The Welsh.
It's been a bit stale there for a few years, though, didn't it? Boxing, a lot of the big fighters played each other and stuff.
I think the Saudis have helped with that to regenerate it. To be fair, I think they have.
Look, what you were seeing is a lot of boxers building up fake records. They'd all of a sudden be 20-0 and they fought nobodies. You know what I mean? And it's like, Anthony Joshua's a bit like that, built up fighting a lot of nobodies. And it's sort of like, whereas back in the day, it felt like you would always see, a couple of big fights every single year, whereas that went stale for a few years.
It really did. Jake Paul and Joshua, I don't know if it's been confirmed, but rumors it has been confirmed from Miami in December. Netflix. For me, Dave, if he takes his fight, then his fight career is finished. Nobody will take him seriously again. I won't be watching that fight. I will not be paying for it. I fear for Jake Paul's health. I think if he goes into the ring with Anthony Joshua.
But see, them fights are usually rigged all Dermo.
Yeah.
The likes of the Jake Pauls and all. Like, look at some of the UFC fighters he's taken out. And I'm not being funny, he beat what was the UFC's fighter's name? Oh, God. I should know because I was a huge
Did he fight
fan.
Fury? Did he fight Tyson Fury? Is that the same fella? Because I know Fury fought him, didn't he? And then he lost to him, actually.
Let me get the name of the UFC guy that he fought. That was
Nightmare Kid. I will let you know. I am doing a pre-record today or tomorrow on any update on the transfer for January for you. So do watch out for that. I'll get that coming up. And David Clark, yes, 46-0. Joe Kozagi was a fantastic fighter. But for me, my favorite fighter of all time, of course, was Steve Collins. But growing up, of course, was Brian McGuigan.
That's it. He ended up. I remember when he boxed Nate Diaz, and Nate Diaz was a boxer in the UFC, and that guy could take slaps, and he was knocking people out. Jake Paul bet him, and I'm not being funny, but a lot of the UFC fighters that he stacked up and all, I feel like they've taken money to take the fall at some point. I truly believe that when it comes to likes of Jake Paul and that, I don't recognize his ability or anything like that. Like that whole fight with Mike Tyson, some of the scandals that came out after that he took it was all about him taking the money and stuff like that. Barely any punches and stuff like that, no engagement and stuff. It's like it's all big show for money and to boost this guy into something that he's not. And I'm not being funny. I feel like if Anthony Joshua takes that fight and the same things happen, it's not about how good Jake Paul is. It's Obviously, these fighters being paid more than enough money to take the fall and stuff like that. It wasn't so long ago that Joshua was supposed to be lined up to fight Fury, even though they've been avoiding each other for so long. It's like, it's for me, that's the fight I want to see happen.
Yeah. I look, Fury AJ will never happen. I think Fury's too happy to, unless the Sheikh comes out and says, right, here's a truckload of money. Here's a truckload of money. Get it on. And then you may find Fury come back. If I could pin you on Dave, on your favorite boxer in modern era, who would it be?
In the modern era?
Yeah.
I really liked. I really like Mayweather. Really had a lot of respect for Mayweather. I really liked Ricky Hatton. Bernard Dunn, Irish fighter, used to put on fights over here and stuff up in Dublin. I used to watch him. And then I have followed Anthony Joshua's career. I watched a lot of his early fights and stuff like that. Tyson Fury is the one. David Haye, and Tony Bellew, they had a good saga going on. Joe Kozagi, he had a good saga going on. Then there was two other English fighters I can't remember. They used to hate each other as well. But for me, it's been Tyson Fury. I remember, it was him going into fight Klitschko in Germany. Yeah. And it was just the way he turned up to the press conference in the Batman outfit.
The Batman suit.
Basically got into Klitschko's head by saying, oh, the ring is too spongy and bouncy, and just basically took the whole attention off the fight. Yeah. And got into Klitschko's head, beat him out there when no one gave Fury any hope whatsoever. And then to go on and have the career he's had, then to leave the sport, have his mental health issues. If anyone's watched the Fury documentary, it's well documented in there what he went through and stuff like that, how he still deals with it. To whack on the weight he did, to live the lifestyle he did, to be able to lose all of that and get back in the ring and go and win fights again is absolutely inspirational to anybody. And for me, I really, really have loved following Tyson Fury's career. Yeah. Absolutely loved it. Even that fight with Ngannou, Ngannou, strongest puncher in the world. That guy in the UFC is so respected, and, he gave him a good fight and everything else. For me, I've really enjoyed following Tyson Fury because it's one thing about being a boxer, like with AJ, he's a boxer, right? But in the press conferences, there's not really any sort of, it's a bit boring, isn't it? Where with Tyson Fury, it's the character.
You don't know what he's going to say.
Yeah.
I mean,
brilliant.
He's calling music a dosser or a rabbit or something like that. You look at that thinking, really?
Usyk's got his number, though.
Oh, yeah, as Usyk. I very quickly, I wonder, before we get on to last bit, and then we will end off.
Because Usyk's one of them. He doesn't give a shit either, does he? He's sort of, you see him doing his training on. He's always wearing weird shit and doing weird shit. He's another one where it's sort of like, he's just as weird as Tyson Fury.
Yeah. But Usyk, for me, they come up from cruiserweight to heavyweight. Only Evander Holyfield's done that. It's, and to be undisputed at cruiserweight, and then to come up to heavyweight and be undisputed at heavyweight, and take apart somebody like Tyson Fury, by the way, who's a bigger man, who's heavier than him. And I just think Usyk is probably one of the greats of boxing we'll ever likely to see.
Do you know what,
to be unbeaten as well.
He doesn't get enough respect, Usyk, actually,
no,
in terms of what he's done in the boxing and stuff like that. But, like I said, he's another good character. Sort of like, he's a bit weird. I like him. But also, just back to Fury. I mean, let's not forget when he rolls off the canvas in the 12th round against Deontay Wilder. Like Rocky The Undertaker, you look at it, you're like, oh, he's done. He's done. Next thing, he just rises up. But not only rises up, goes and boxes the head off him then for the remainder of the round. Unbelievable.
It was like watching a Rocky film, wasn't it? It was like watching Rocky getting up against Apollo Creed. This one for Spurs, where we'll sort of end off now, Dave. I would like to let you all know that I'm organising a tournament for mental health awareness. Being someone who goes through mental struggles, it is important to spread awareness. It is. I have my own mental health issues as well. I know majority of other people. I've never been shy to go talk about. I've always been quite open about my mental health struggles and quite, proud to talk about them, because I think it has to be. I think as men, we don't talk about it as much as we should. We shouldn't keep things bottled up. If we got a problem, we should reach out to friends or to organizations that can help you. And I think it's fair. And look, I've been in dark places, and this man next to me It's helped me out then. He was there for me when nobody else was. Him and Jack and two other people. But look, Dave was next to me, and especially him and Jack. They were behind me. Never wavered in their friendship for me, and always had my back, even at my darkest hour. And when you got friends like that, and other people as well who I won't name, but you know who you are. When you got friends like that, that's what helped you. That's what helped you get better. That's what helped you take the next step. And so, look, Spurs Fev, let us know. Email me about the organised. I'm sure me and Dave, I'll pass it on to Dave, and I'm sure me and Dave will try to help out in any way we can for both channels. So please let us know. But Dave, look, as I said, I just want to pay you thank you because you helped me in my darkest hour, and you were there for me. You didn't waver. You didn't flinch. You or Jack. And I know there was other people as well who remain nameless, but just to give you a big up, just thank you for you because you know I'd be forever
I'll
grateful.
wire you that $2.99. You know, after we finish for the very kind words. I appreciate that. You know, I've definitely got my money's right there, eh?
Yeah, yeah, you definitely do. Nightmare Kisses. Conor McGregor's my favorite. Yeah, right. He's a gobshite.
Do
Not
you know
you,
what? Since
he
he's
is
got
a
the money,
gobshite, Dave.
yeah,
I'm
since he's
sorry.
got, no, look, since he's got the money, he's turned into a gobshite. But before that, you know, he took Ireland by storm. You know, he was
Yeah.
motivational. You know, an unbelievable fighter. Sort of backed up the talk. Not only that, made predictions when he was going to knock people out and win the rounds, and he ended and win the fights, and he went and done it. Like there was a while when he was on top of his game before the fame, the fortune, and the drugs and everything else. He was unbelievable.
Yeah,
Since then, you know, he's turned into a bit of a nut. Don't get me wrong, but before that, you know, he was inspirational.
For what I was told, he was a gobshite right then. But look, that's just my opinion. Everyone has their opinion, but he's a gobshite then and a bigger gobshite now. Going into the
brought out
Oval
his chain of suits that time as well. A couple of my
yeah,
mates
I remember that.
Yeah,
Going into the White House. I'm going to be president of Ireland. Like fuck you are. Big up to our new president, by the way, Catherine Connolly. Big up to you. And you know what, Dave? And that was another thing the other day. We had our presidential election, right? She was being sworn in. The way we do it makes you proud to be Irish, doesn't it? We just do it brilliantly, quietly, and we get on with it. There's no big funfair or that.
Yeah.
We just do it the right way.
Yeah, I suppose. Look, Irish
and then go down to the pub.
Don't even get me
Then
started.
go down to the pub after. No, we're not going there. But then we go down to the pub afterwards and have a few beers and get on with it. And then have a big punch up in the car park afterwards. Big up to Chang, Mr. Chang. It says, much love and respect to you, Mr. Moyles and Mr. Harris from the Oriental Far East, gents. Big up to you, sir. As far as level-headed fans and content creators get, can go wrong when they're together on air. Well, thank you so much. That's very kind of you. Dave, do you want to say anything?
Yeah, I'd like to think I keep, you know, this is what I mean, Dermot getting on. I like to think I sort of keep him living in reality. I think when he's not around me, he essentially lives up on Mars, whereas I pull him back down to reality for an hour or two in a day, which helps him out, I think. Big up, Chang.
You do. He does. He goes, get down here, you fucker. Get down here.
When we're finished, Dermot's going to have to shout up to him on Pluto for his dinner.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true, yeah. I was actually in Jupiter the other day, actually, when you rang me. I'm doing the planets at the moment. I'm doing the planet hop. But Dave, that is Irish Lads Talk Spurs. A bit of a mixed bag today. We're a bit of a mixed bag.
I didn't mind going into a bit of boxing and that. That was fun.
Yeah, there's not a lot of Spurs news around, so I thought I might as well mention about the fight Saturday. Right, before we go, who's going to win? Eubank or Ben?
I think Eubank.
Do you know what? As much as I think Eubank's the bigger man, and he should beat Conor Ben, I think Conor Ben's got a little bit something to prove.
He does have something to prove, but I just think the size and the power, like, you know, like if you're both eating normally and you go into a fight, right?
Yeah.
Fine. You know, you can sort of that can come out of a little bit. But when you're training the way they do and you're fasting the way they are, you know, and all like that sort of stuff, you sort of lose a bit of your pace and your power and that when you're stepping up against stronger opposition. You find it hard enough to hurt them. That's why for me, I just think Eubank will have the edge.
I just think with the drugs thing that will happen before the first fight, I think the motivation to get it 1-1, to get a third fight out of it, because if Ben does win it, there will be a third fight.
Ben's just a bit of a dick as well, though, isn't he? Bit of a knob.
Yeah, he is. Look, Chris Eubank Jr. is like the chip off the old block from Chris. The way he does the
A
press
bit knobby, to be fair.
Yeah, but I just think Chris Eubank Jr. doesn't fall far from the tree. He's like his own man.
I love his own lad. Do you ever see his appearance on Gogglebox when he's trying to hand the young lad the sweets? The young lad looks like a pure old man. He's like, would you like some confectionery? And the young lad's looking at him like, you mean Smarties, Dad? Smarties.
He was on Talk Sport yesterday.
He's like, yes, stupendous confectionery. And the kid's just looking at him like, you're putting this on for the camera. You don't speak like this normally. Stop it.
He was on Talk Sport yesterday and he went into this 4-minute poem. And Jim White and Simon Jordan were just looking at him thinking, what the fuck have we got here? They had Nigel Benn on for about earlier on in the show. Nigel Benn. I love Nigel Benn, by the way he talks, right, and everything, right? Here's Chris Eubank, come here. One with the universe, yes. And then he suddenly goes into this Jamaican sort of talk. And I'm thinking,
he's a few brain cells loose, that guy. You know, he was a good boxer himself, but I think it's took its toll on him a little bit.
I think, I mean, to be asked to be paid, would you come to? He was asked. I think it was on today. People can watch it. Eddie Hearn invited him to his dad's 60th, and Chris Eubank Senior said, "Where's the money? Well, if I'm not getting paid, can you pay my driver for me?" He had to pay him 300 quid to bring him there. It's just bizarre. So you're going for Eubank. Do you know what, Dave? I'm going to go for. My heart says Eubank, but my head's telling me Ben. I don't know why. Do you know what? I'm going to go for Ben. And the next podcast, we'll see who's right. There we go. So we've gone for both opposite. But guys, thank you for watching. Dave, where can people find you, bud?
Yeah, you can find us over at the Irish Hotspur. I'll be live tonight with a couple of guys from the Kildare Spurs Supporters Club, which we're both a member of. You know, Jack and Colin, both very good guests. We'll be speaking a bit about Mason Melia, you know, what Spurs fans can sort of expect out of them, you know. But, you know, a lot of the guys in the Kildare Spurs group, you know, some of them are St. Pat's fans and they all keep a close eye on Mason Melia. So we're going to have a discussion around that, you know, just to sort of break up, you know, talking about the United result and stuff.
Yeah, anything's better than talking about the United result. That's why I went into boxing. Anything at the moment, just leave Ireland and Tottenham somewhere where we can't think about it. But yes, you can find me here. You also find me on Dave's as well on Fan Show. So I wasn't on your Fan Show last night, Dave. I will be on the next one.
You on the pre-match build-up for the NLD?
You need to ask me. Of course I'll be there.
Well, no, I need to ask because I don't know whether, you know, Kate and Jimbo have reached out for where.
Oh no, I've been doing both. I can do both.
Okay,
so that's fine. I can do both. But yeah, on Saturday I'm on JYS football with the girls over there with the Eubank Ben fight. So I'm looking forward to that. Join me Sunday while I do cover Ireland's last game in the World Cup, so I can be depressed on Sunday evening. Just to, you know, I won't do it tonight because I'll be in tears tonight. We're not qualifying for another tournament. Mrs. Tron's going to have to comfort me all night now. So, because I'm going to be so upset. But yeah, there'll be a pre-record out about this January window, who we're going to go after, little news that I've been given. And also on Double Dum Gaming, they will be on next Tuesday at 9 o'clock. I am starting a Batman Arkham Asylum series. So join me over there for a bit of fun and a little bit of relaxation away from football on my gaming channel. So they're on there and also on Twitch as well.
For someone that has a gaming channel, you never join us on pro clubs?
Well, nobody ever asked me. And I'm not singing a feckin' song either to join your pro clubs.
We were only messing with you, Dermot.
That was the only reason I didn't join. I'm not feckin' singing a fucking song to them.
We were only messing with you, you mad man.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Well, join me. I'll join tonight then. Right. Oh, by the way, just to let you know in the FCC, Tottenham, I won the FA Cup in my first season. Went into the last game in third place, 2 points behind Arsenal and Liverpool, and I win the league on the last day of the season.
Unreal, lad.
So I did the league and cup double. I'm as great as Bill Nick on that bombshell. I know there's a few old Tottenham fans throwing their I know who's in the chat? I know David Clark and Philip Brady, who's somewhere in Miami, I think. Throwing something at the telly right now. But guys, we'll be back soon. Come on, you Spurs. And Big Thomas Frank. Yeah, exactly. I need to learn my Gaelic again. See you later.
Eyes on the